Welcome to Explicit Expression, where it's facts over feelings. My name is Adam, and I'm going to tell you how it is, and I don't care how you feel about it. Let's go. All right, let's go. So, Donald Trump visited the black journalism of Chicago or some shit. I don't know what to call that shit. I don't even know that shit existed. But yeah, we're gonna react to it. Let's go.
NABJ. Mic's on? Hear me? Here we go. Test. Good afternoon, NABJ, and welcome to a conversation with former President Donald Trump. This discussion continues a decades-long tradition during election years of inviting journalists to discuss the policies and their impact with the candidates who are running for president, and the impact of those policies, especially in black communities. Former Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton have attended the NABJ conventions either as presidents or as presidential candidates in past years. NABJ is currently in conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris's team to schedule a Q&A either in person or virtually in September. As journalists, we use opportunities like these both to inform our reporting, but also to help voters understand the choices that they face in a consequential and historic election year. NABJ has partnered with PolitiFact to fact-check this conversation in real time. You can access that feed on social media using the hashtag NABJFactCheck. Again, the hashtag is NABJFactCheck. We have a lot to get to, and we do not want to waste any time, so let's bring out the former President of the United States, the Republican nominee for President, former President Donald Trump.
Look at that gangster walk.
Thank you. How are you? How are you?
Look at that gangster walk.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley.
Didn't she just say that they're here to talk about policies and agendas and how that's supposed to help black people? Isn't that what she just said? What the hell about what he said about his other people running? What the hell that got to do with the policies and agendas? So as soon as the dude get in here and sit down, y'all start attacking him about what he said about the other people who's running. What the fuck they got to do with his policy and agenda?
To former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States,
So?
which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black.
Oh, wow. If I knew, see, when Joe Biden goes on his interviews and stuff, he have questions ready that he already knows they're going to ask. And he has answers ready to answer these questions. This nigga come on here not knowing what the fuck is going to happen. He didn't have to fucking come on this show. He went on there anyway. And the first thing to do is start asking him stupid questions. Instead of asking him about his policy, his plans, his agenda, and what is he going to do that's going to benefit black people? Or what have he done that has benefited black people when he first became president? Instead, they start attacking him about what he said to other people. What does that got to do with you? If he called that fat black lady down there fat, what they got to do with you? Are you fat? If he said that Jeremiah down the street looked like a fucking rabbit or a monkey, What that got to do with you? Do you look like a rapper or a monkey? Did he call you or tell you that you look like a rapper or a monkey? Did he go on national TV? Or did he go on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or any of these social media platforms and said that all black people are fat or all black people look like rabbits and monkeys? He did not do that. He called specific people who were more than likely talking shit about him too. And what do you do when people talk shit about you? You talk shit back, whether it's true or false. The reason for talking shit to people when they're talking shit to you is to hurt their feelings the same way that they're trying to hurt your feelings. So you say, well, what the fuck you think is going to hurt their feelings? So I don't see no problem with that. I do see a problem with this dude coming on here trying to talk to y'all and answer questions about his policy and agenda if he becomes a second term president. Like she stated, that's what this was going to be based on. Instead, they attacked him with these type of questions.
Black journalists calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort.
Oh, wow.
So my question, sir, now...
I will have dinner with a white supremacist if it benefits me or my business. I will. I damn sure will. I don't give a fuck what the nigga like or don't like. What does he bring into my business? Okay? Fuck him and whatever the hell he believes in. That's his problem. Go take that shit somewhere else over there. Go deal with that shit over there. When we're here and you're in my establishment and we're talking business, and I'm trying to see how do you benefit me and my company. Other than that, take that shit somewhere else. Whatever you believe in, take that shit somewhere else, bro. And this shit is crazy, bro. God.
That you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say hello.
Oh my God. And this is why people love this dude, bro. He's right. I come on here, I take my fucking time to come on here for y'all to ask me about how I'm going to change this country, what I'm going to do with my policies and all these things. Instead, you start attacking them. You start asking them horrible questions, bro.
Hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke. And I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand.
Damn, so this nigga showed up. They lied to him, told him that Kamala was going to be there, right? She's not there. They could have done it with Zoom. Everybody uses Zoom now. What's so important that she's doing that she can't be on Zoom? She got time to be at the BET Award show and talk all this black shit that she was talking, homegirl and all that other shit, hot iron and shit. But she ain't got time to be here, right? And y'all lied to this nigga, told him that she was going to be there. He comes, and y'all start attacking him. That's fucking crazy. And then they were late. Oh my fucking God. I think all black people can attest to it. Me too. Okay? We're always fucking late to every fucking thing. It's just what black people is. I don't know. It's what black people do. I try not to be late most of the time, if it's something very important. And this seemed like it's something very important, right? They want to know what he's going to do for black people, and they showed up 30 minutes late, and then they lied to him on top of it.
I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working, or something
Mr.
was
President,
wrong.
I would love
I think
if you
it's
can
a
answer the
very
question
nasty
on your rhetoric
question.
and why you
I have
believe that
answered the
black voters
question.
should trust you with another
I
4
have
years.
been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights
And
Act?
for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get...
You can hear it in her voice. You can hear her tone. She do not like this nigga. She's here on an agenda. I don't know about the other people who's there, but her, who's speaking right now, she's there on the agenda. She do not like this nigga. I don't know what her problem is. She sounds mad. She don't like this nigga.
Your equipment to work in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire.
Who gives a fuck what everybody else think? Did he say it? So she's asking this nigga, what do you think, or why do you think people who support you or people who are going to vote for you are saying that Kamala Harris is a DEI hire or it's not black? I will say, I don't know. I don't fucking know. Go ask those people.
Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a definition then. Would you give me a definition? DEI. Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question, a very direct question.
Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So, I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only...
Let's get back to it. I had a equipment malfunction. My bad. Let's get back to it, man. Shit. I thought I broke my fucking camera.
Sir, I'm asking you a question, a very direct question.
Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So, I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She is always identified as a black woman.
I respect either one. I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian.
What the hell does that mean if she went to a historically black college? White people, don't some white kids go to historically black colleges? Does that mean they're black? The hell? These people are crazy.
All the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
and
you believe that
I think somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans have said?
I really don't know. I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Well, you told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we are divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country.
Did you hear that question she just asked, right? Okay, this is an all-black journalist thing, right? I don't even know. I didn't even know this shit exists. You're running for presidency. We know all the problems that are going on right now in this country. Why take the time out of your day to come here to talk to us today, to allow us to ask you these questions?
It is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we are divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
Oh my fucking God. This is one of the questions that, well, this is one of the things that he said at the debate with Joe Biden that black people was going crazy about. What is a black job, right? It's a job that black people have. What the fuck? And we all know that a lot of black people work in the warehouse, so do white people, right? So he's speaking to the black people. He's saying that a lot of the immigrants that are here are taking a lot of black jobs. And if you work in the oil field, they're taking your job. If you're a gardener, they're taking your job. If you mow lawns, they're taking your job. If you work in warehouses, they're taking your job. Why is that so fucking hard to understand? Why? Because he didn't specifically name all the jobs that he's talking about?
And
Mr.
they're taking,
President,
Jesus.
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 50.
But also, most of the immigrants that are coming in are being put in the black community. So what he's saying is not a lie. It's most affecting black people because most of them are being put in the black community. So most of the jobs that they are taking in that area are jobs that black people are doing. So he's not lying.
16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs. And frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
True.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts. And this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess this woman wasn't able to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country, and it's destroying the black community probably as much or
So what do
more
you do?
Than any.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls, and then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history, and his poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight, a prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing well. You say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him, and now we have to steer toward him. But ultimately it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
President, can I ask you another question
Yes,
that is also impacting black Americans?
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sonia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff.
I've seen that.
The deputy has since been charged with murder. You said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity? In your immunity?
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something.
Yeah, I seen. Let's bring that back. I seen that video too. That was fucked up what that officer did. I don't know the whole story on it, but from what it looked like, right, he shot that woman for no reason. It's fucked up. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't know too much about it, but from what I've seen, he didn't have to shoot that lady. So we're gonna leave it there. But let's see what Trump says about it.
The deputy has since been charged with murder. You said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity?
Their main issue, though, they should be talking about why are so many black babies deported. I said deported, aborted. They should talk about why are so many black people getting shot in black neighborhoods by black people, gang members. That's what they should be focused on. Right? And I know, he did say something about their immunity. I got to look into that too because I didn't understand that either. Right? Why would you just give all police officer immunity? right? I know certain government officials do have immunity. The Army, they have immunity also. But I have seen, even though they do have immunity from stuff that they do in office while they're on duty, but I have seen, we all have seen some of them gone to jail for going to Iraq and all the other places and committing and killing people for no reason, killing innocent people. So we have seen that. So even though he said that, maybe he has his policy or something somewhere that explains, okay, look, if he, this is what the immunity entails, right? If somebody's trying to attack you, or somebody has a weapon, or your life is threatened, all that, right? Maybe there's an explanation for that. But to just give somebody immunity entirety, no matter what they do, I don't think that's what he meant. But let's listen to it.
In your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something, and it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me. Are you talking with the water, right?
Yeah, well, police unions are not backing this person either.
Okay.
But again, why would...
Are they going to be charging the officer? I guess they're charging the officer.
So why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 100.
He's not doing a good job of explaining himself. I don't know if he's tired or he's probably just in a bad mood now because of the way that lady came at him. But he said he might not, right? So I think, like I said again, what he meant by that was depending on the case. It's a case by case situation. If you try to attack a police officer and he shoots your ass down, yeah, that nigga shouldn't be charged. If you pull a gun out on a police officer and he shoot your ass down, that nigga shouldn't be charged. If you pull a knife or weapon out and you try to attack this nigga, that nigga shouldn't be charged. Now, in that situation, like he just said, he don't know the full story about it and he doesn't know what happened. We saw what happened, right? But we don't know. So he should be charged, and then when they figure out what's going on, they should move accordingly from there. And I think that's what he's trying to say.
And 17 shootings and 17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
well, right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine
you go after somebody and it's a very close call and it's very dangerous, and you know they have the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing because sometimes you have less than a second to make a life and death decision, and sometimes very bad decisions are made. They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake.
So I want to follow up really quickly. I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized our justice system. I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case. That was the most difficult case. And I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse. I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't because he wasn't president at the time. And he had 50 years worth of documents. And they ruled that he was incompetent, and therefore he shouldn't stand trial. And I said, isn't that something? He's incompetent, and he can't stand trial, and yet He can be president. Isn't that nice?
Mr. President,
but they released him on the basis that he was incompetent. They said he had no memory, and he was a nice old guy, but he had no memory, and therefore we're not going to prosecute him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it, George.
We covered you extensively, sir. I'd love to move over on to
I
different
didn't notice
topics.
you do any publicity on it at all. I won the case, the biggest case. This is an attack on a political opponent. I have another one where I have a hostile judge.
We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different
No,
topics.
excuse me. You're the one that held me up for 35 minutes, just so you understand.
If we can move on now to the state of the race, sir, I want to get back to the campaign. Senator J.D. Vance is your running mate. He's had a lot of controversy lately, and I want to read you a few things that he has said in the past. He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about
the fuck? The choices you made don't affect the way you live your life. The fuck is he talking about?
People who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate, and do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family oriented, and he thinks family is a great thing. That doesn't mean he thinks that if you don't have a family, it's not. I know people with families. I know people with great families. I know people with very troubled families. And I also know people with no families. They didn't meet the right person. Things happen. You go through life, you don't meet the right person.
But he's not just talking about families here.
And
he also
some
says
of those
that people that don't have children should get less votes than those that do.
I'm just speaking for myself.
Is that your
and I
campaign
think I'm
position?
speaking for him too. He strongly believes in family, but I know people with great families. I know people with not great families that don't have a family. And the people without the family are far better. They're superior in many cases, okay? He's not saying they're not. What he's saying is that he thinks the family experience is a very important thing. It's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean that if you grow up and you grow older and you don't meet somebody that would be wonderful to meet and would have been good, that that's a bad thing. He's not saying that. My interpretation, you'll have to ask him actually, but my interpretation is he's strongly family oriented. But that doesn't mean if you don't have a family, there's something wrong with it.
Just one last point, and then we'll move on. Just one of the bedrock principles of American life is one person, one vote.
Yeah, he's doing good.
Senator J.D. Vance has suggested that someone who has children should have more votes than a person who does not have children. I just want to be clear here. Is that the position of your campaign?
Well, no, but it's not something I've ever heard before.
When you're not scripted, you go off the cuff. You go, from your head, what you think, how you feel. It's not scripted, right? You'll never see that from the other side, though. They always have the questions that they're going to answer. I can't wait till they interview her. I think she said in September. Watch how different it's going to be. I guarantee you, watch how different it's going to be.
I can tell you this. Right now you have illegal aliens coming into our country, many from prisons and many from mental institutions, and they want to give them votes. I don't think they should have votes. They came into our country illegally, and they're taking the vote away from all of the people in this room that have been here a long time, that have worked hard, that in many cases, and you'll see this happening, if I'm not elected, you're going to see it happening. If I am, you're not going to have any problem. But you're going to see it happening a long time. You're going to see the people in this room and people outside of this room are going to be losing their jobs to people that have come into this country illegally.
Mr. President, can we stay with just kind of the state of the race right now? Because I felt like that vice president question, candidate question was right in there with that. So let's talk about J.D. Vance for a little bit. He's had some stumbles out of the gate. I don't know if you're hearing what we hear as reporters, but it's been a tough couple of weeks for him. Why did you choose J.D. Vance?
Why
did you choose him? And I'm having a hard time hearing too. I know everybody out there can, but it's hard.
I'll tell you why. I chose him because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly, because you have many of them in this room. But you have many of those people, they were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book that became a bestseller. The movie became a smash hit. He's a very smart guy. without the benefit of having a family that has contacts, like a father that was well connected. He got into Yale Law School. He graduated in 2 years from Ohio State, summa cum laude. I mean, you take a look at, his career has been an amazing career. He started off at a level with a difficult family situation, very difficult with the mother and the father and everything else. He ends up going to Yale Law School and was one of the top students, became the head of the law journal. I mean, it's an amazing thing. He's a 4-year, he was in the military with great distinction for 4 years, got out, went into business, became successful in business, very successful in business, actually. Did public offerings and
I
other
like the
things.
explanation, but long story short, he's what do you call it? He's the American dream, basically. I would say that. He's the American dream. What everybody strive for. Came up in a rough family, as Trump just said. I might have to look him up. Came up in a rough family, made it out, went to school, graduated, made top of his class, law student, came out, started a business, was successful. That's what everybody in America wants. And he did that, especially if you start at the bottom in that type of rough situation. So yeah, I mean, sounds like a great pick to me.
And I have to believe in that. I mean, he's somebody that was born in a rough situation. Most of the people know that situation because it was very well documented in his book. And I have a lot of respect for somebody that can get into Yale and become one of the best students in Yale, that meets a young woman at Yale who was also outstanding, and they get married, they have a beautiful family, but he's made himself an amazing life. He then goes to Ohio, lives in Ohio, and he had my endorsement. That helped. But he wins the Senate. He becomes a United States Senator. So he's a United States Senator. And so, Harris, like I respect you for your success, I respect people for their success.
The reason I asked the question is because the last time you and I sat and talked was the day that you were shot. We'd been together for much of that day. You left to go to Butler, Pennsylvania, and we didn't know what was next.
Yeah.
And
I'm
2 days
sorry.
after that,
I cannot understand. Your microphone
I know
is so
it is
muffled.
really hard for me
I
to
mean, it's
understand
just,
you too.
I can understand you perfectly.
Because she's closer.
I can understand you.
Happy to hear that, sir.
But I can't
Really happy to hear
understand,
that.
Harris,
I have a few more questions.
because of the distance, and the mics are really in lousy shape, but I cannot understand what you're saying.
So what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some words that were prophetic because I asked you who you wanted to choose for vice president.
Yeah.
And you said normally it really wouldn't matter what they would, you choose somebody that you think has a future, that sort of thing. But you said these words 3.5 hours before an attempted assassination on your life. You told me that bad things happen, Harris, and that's why this decision is important this time. Bad things happen. You said it twice. When you look at J.D. Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons of what we're talking about, not for vote reasons, but for political reasons, other political reasons. But historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and you can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think J.D. is. I think that all of them would have been. But you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like me, I'm going to win. If you don't like me, I'm not going to win.
I'm going to get my J.D. Vance question in.
J.D. Vance?
I'm going to get my J.D. Vance question in. To your point and to Rachel's point, he, has a lot of opinions about childless women like myself or divorced people like yourself. Do you think?
She does
Well,
shots.
I mean, my
But
point
at
is
least
here.
it was said in a friendly manner.
My point is.
She's throwing shots. Hey, why the fuck do you have kids out of wedlock? I don't know if she used to be married or not. I don't know. I'm just saying, but come on, bro.
Do you think the Republican Party, is getting a little bit too judgy about people's lives when you think about abortion or when you think about what J.D. Vance is saying?
I don't think, look, I think that the Democrat Party is really the one that has the problem. I think they're radical on abortion because they're allowing abortion in the 9th month. They're allowing the
But I
death.
think it's
They're
about
allowing
freedom,
the
right?
death of a baby after the baby is born, based on
Sir,
the
that is
governor
illegal
of Virginia.
in every state in the
That's
country.
Based on the governor of Virginia,
Executing a
they're
baby in
allowing the
every
death
state
of
in
the
country
baby
is illegal.
after it's born.
It's
They're
a crime.
allowing abortions in the 8th and 9th month.
Well,
of
Democrats
pregnancy.
have denied.
I think they're right. And I think the Republican Party is actually much less. I think I've made them much less radical, perhaps, but the Republican Party, what we're doing is bringing it back to the states where everybody wanted it. Democrats,
And
Republicans.
he always said that. People think he's just blocking abortion. He's not. He's always said that I'm taking it from the overall of the country, from the federal government, and bringing it back to the states and letting the states, however they want to do their votes, or I don't know how they do it. I'm gonna have to look into how they actually decide whether or not they're gonna do what they do. And let the states decide that. If the people favor it more in that state, then that's probably what it's going to be, because I'm sure the governor in that state is not going to want to piss off the people who are voting for them in that state, right? So I think I agree with that, bro. And I don't see nothing wrong with that.
Republicans,
And he's
liberals,
always said
conservative, everybody wanted abortion brought back. They didn't want Roe v. Wade in the federal government. They wanted it, everybody
But the
wanted
majority
it
of
back.
Americans oppose
Excuse
Roe
me.
v. Wade being
They-
overturned.
they don't-
Well, if they do, then the majority of the states will have legal abortion to however fucking much you want to have it to. If what she's saying is true, if the majority of Americans wanted Roe v. Wade to not be overturned and wanted abortion should just be at any time you want to have it, however you feel, right? Then, since he's brought it back to the states, then the majority of the states would have legal abortion to whatever state, whatever term that you like. But it's not. So then you should ask a question: does the majority of Americans want that? So we got to look at the amount of states that actually have it legal to a certain point, and look at the difference of it, and then see, what does that data tell you? And I think that's a great idea. If there's a majority of people in a certain state who wants abortion to be legal at whatever trimester, then that state will favor that majority of people's decision, right? And I think that's cool. I don't see nothing wrong with that.
Know
Polls have
about
showed that,
this.
sir.
Right now, they're voting. It brought it back to the states. Now, I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Ronald Reagan believed with rape, incest, life of the mother. I do. I think most people do. I think most Republicans do
I don't know
also.
about incest.
But if you take a
That
look,
I don't agree
right
with
now, they're
incest, because are you saying incest of people who are raped by family members? Is that what you're saying? Then that would just go underneath rape, right? If you're saying about these people that I've seen videos of who just sleeping with each other because they want to keep it in the family, want to keep their bloodline strong, or whatever the fuck they sick shit they doing over there. That I don't give a fuck about that. They can do what the fuck they want to do, right? But people who are being raped should have the option whether or not they want to keep the kid or they want to give the kid up for adoption. I think that's fine. If the mother is gonna die or gonna have some type of severe problem if they keep this child in them, I think that should be an exception also. And he's been saying this, bro. And
doing, it's an amazing thing. Out of the federal government, it's in states, and people are voting. And I will say, Ohio is,
So people are voting for this in their states, right? Or am I wrong? Are people voting? Let me see. Let me check this out. Are people voting to keep abortion. Something I don't know what the fuck I need to search for. Legal in their states. Are people voting to keep? Which states could have abortion on the ballot? Oh, okay. So they are voting, right? It pushed to ask Arizona voters to add a right to abortion to the state constitution. Took on new stakes this week when the state Supreme Court ruled that the state can enforce a ban on abortion in all stages of pregnancy. Arizona is one of the several states where abortion might be on the ballot this year. Across the country, there have been increased efforts to put abortion rights questions to voters since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and removed their nationwide right to abortion. Since that 2022 decision, most Republican-controlled states have new abortion restrictions in effect, including 14 that ban it at every stage of pregnancy. Most Democrat-dominated states have laws or executives order to protect access. So you see what I'm saying? So I was right. States states who are most popular for abortion at any stages are still allowed to have their abortion at any stage. And in states that are not more you know the majority of not having abortion of every state have that implemented also. So it's a win-win situation. If you are in a certain state and you don't like the laws or whatever, right? You can just move to another state and go live over there and be comfortable. But if you're in the state, you gotta follow their laws. It's just like in America, you gotta follow the American laws, the federal laws.
Let's call it a more liberal version, has been approved. Kansas, the same thing, a little bit surprising to a lot of people. But the people are now voting, and it's taking this issue that's been going on for 52 years and has torn our country apart, and it's giving it to the people to vote on. And they're voting. And many states have already voted. Others are in the process of voting. And it's bringing it back to the people and a vote of the people. And it's not at all radical. And again, you have to follow your heart. I happen to believe in the three exceptions. Most people believe in the three exceptions. Most Republicans believe in the exceptions. But they don't want to see an abortion in the 9th month or the 8th month. Almost everybody agrees to that. And they certainly don't want to see, in the case of the governor of Virginia, the former governor, I might add, who said, we set the baby aside and then we decide what to do. Meaning, what do? We execute the baby. That's a radical, horrible position. And some people want that. I don't want it. Most people don't.
Thank you. Can I just pivot really quickly to another question about, you brought up health, Harris. You're an active man. We see you golfing all the time. But if you win, you'll still be president at 82, which is older than Biden is right now.
But not mentally. Look, mentally.
Here's the question.
He's shot. But most people, I know many people in their 80s and their 90s that are in great shape. Some of our greatest leaders. You look at throughout the world history.
Right, and that's what people don't understand. Sometimes it's not about the age, right? My son, sometimes he knows, not even sometimes, most of the time he knows shit that I don't know. He's sharp, right? He knows, especially when it comes to education and math and other things. I'm good at math too, but he picks up on shit so fast, he retains it. He's so freaking smart, right? And then you have people who are older than me, who are also smarter than me and still sharp. So sometimes it's not about the age. You have to look at somebody and see what they're doing, how they're acting, their reaction, their reflexes, how they're speaking to you. And you'll know whether or not that something is wrong with that person, or this person is just tired, or they're just too old, or whatever, or they have mental issues, whatever. You can look and tell. Donald Trump looks sharp as fuck. I don't care if he's older than Biden or Harris is younger. They're trying to bring that up now because that's what we were saying when he was debating Joe Biden, but everybody could see that Joe Biden was out of there mentally. Like, the dude is falling asleep in interviews. He's standing there falling asleep. He don't know. He's mistaking people's name for other names while they're standing right in front of him, and then he doesn't correct himself. Right? That's obvious sign of some type of mental problem. And now they're saying, "Oh, you're gonna be the oldest." Well, look at this nigga. This nigga's walking around, this nigga's clapping his hand. He's still acting the same way he was acting last year, the year before that, 4 years ago when he was the president. He's still doing the same shit, acting the same way. I don't see what's the problem. I don't care if this nigga's 90 years old. If he's still mentally able to do the job and he's still physically able to do the job, there shouldn't be no problem with it.
The greatest leaders, some of the greatest leaders in the world were in their 80s.
But here's the question. Would you consider stepping down if you felt that your health was declining? Or would you?
Oh, absolutely.
And who would?
I think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated
Oh my
me,
goodness.
and I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That wasn't a question. She
Sir,
didn't ask
you
me
can
a
answer the
question.
question.
She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated
You
your
can answer
statement,
the
sir,
question.
actually.
You said you would. You would
Oh,
make that
absolutely.
decision
If I
to step
thought
down.
that I was failing in some way, I want people to be sharp. I'll go a step further. I want anybody running for president to take an aptitude test, to take a cognitive test. I think it's a great idea. And I took 2 of them and I aced them.
Well,
I took 2 of them. But let me ask.
Yeah.
I would like to have people running for president, and I don't mean because they're 75 or 85. I think anybody running, I'd like to do it. People say it's not constitutional. I would like to have something passed where you can do it. I think we should know. I mean, I've watched what's happened in the last couple of years under this gentleman, and our country is a mess. We have inflation. We have the millions of people falling in. We have Afghanistan, which was the worst, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. What he has done to our country, and her too, what they've done to our country, she has been a horrible vice president. She's considered the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Mr.
Don't mean to
President.
interrupt you, but would you consider taking the cognitive test
Mr. President.
I would love to
and
do
make
it.
it public?
Well, I've already taken 2 of them, but I'll do it again.
Mr.
I
President,
suggest-
how do you intend to?
I suggested, Harris, that let's take one. I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her too. I would do it with her also. You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Mr.
Are
President.
you saying she wouldn't pass? Just to be clear,
I'm just giving you the facts.
to be clear, you don't think
I'm
Harris
just-
How
would
do you
pass the
intend, and
She didn't
look,
pass her bar exam, and she didn't think she would pass it, and she didn't think she was going to ever pass it. And I don't know what happened. Maybe she passed it. I
She
guess
did pass it.
There's a
She
man
did-
over
she
here.
did
I
in
think
fact
he
pass
must
it.
work. for
Mr.
her.
President, I would love to ask you about January 6th. You called yourself the candidate of law and order. When Time Magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely. You called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones, at least one officer lost an eye, one had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs, another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers, including those I just mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack on the Capitol.
So he ain't lying.
Horrible
What the fuck?
attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible
He ain't lying.
monuments,
She failed-
bells,
she
lions,
failed.
all these
Vice
magnificent
President
limestone and
Kamala
granite
Harris failed
with
her bar
red
exam. This nigga is not
paint,
lying.
red
Pause
spray
this shit.
paint.
Why they acting like she ain't lying? What's wrong with these people? Vice President Kamala Harris failed her bar exam required to practice law on her first attempt, but passed it on her second attempt. She failed it the first time and then she passed it the second time. So this nigga ain't lying. So, like he said, maybe she will fail the cognitive exam. And then when she go take it again, she'll probably pass the second time. What the fuck? Oh my God. Why, bruh? Trump made some recruits. Oh my God. Oh man. Bruh. Y'all need to stop it, bro. Let me see what they saying. You see how they phrase
Former
it?
President Donald Trump gave a tense interview to a panel of reporters from the National Association of Black Journalists. In it, he made several claims about the background of his opponent in the 2024 presidential election.
Oh man, they about to talk too much. I wanted them to go straight to the point, but they're not. He's about to fucking talk too much. Yeah, he ain't lie. She failed it the first time. She had to go study again and come back and take it. Ain't nothing wrong with that, but he ain't lying.
Never actually come off, especially in the limestone. It will never. I'm a builder. I know about this stuff. It'll never. You'll see it in 100 years from now. They viciously attacked our government. They fought with police. They fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed that city?
But sir, my question is on those.
What's going to happen to the people that tried to
My question is on those rioters who assaulted officers.
You have to
would you pardon
What's
those
going to
people?
happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You would pardon those?
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been convicted.
And by the way, the Supreme Court just well, they were convicted by a very tough system. How come the people that tried to burn down Minneapolis, how come the people that took over a large percentage of Seattle, how come nothing happened to them?
Right.
How come the
but
people
sir, we're
that,
talking about people that were seen beating officers with flags, dragging them down the stairs. They're on video. Have you seen that video, sir?
Really? Well, they
you
shot.
You would pardon those rioters?
They were on video too. The people that were rioting, breaking into stores, robbing businesses. They were on video too. The fuck? What's wrong with these people?
They shot a young lady in the face who was protesting. They shot her in the face. You know, nobody died that day. You do know that. But people died in Seattle. Nobody died, but people died in Minneapolis. You know people died in Minneapolis. And nothing happens, and nobody ever talks, and nothing happens to those people. But you went after the J6 people with a vengeance. And I'll tell you what about the cops that were, and I'm all for the police, as you know, but what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go in, go in, go in. What about that? Look, nothing is perfect in life, but you have people from Minneapolis, you have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C., they were having fistfights and fighting with the police. They were spraying and destroying. They were desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and nothing happened to them. And you can't have two systems of justice. That's why they went after me as a political opponent, because they felt they couldn't win without doing that. And we're going to win our cases, and we're going to be vindicated. But I have to spend a lot of time on that and money. That's what they want. After the election, they won't care. Although in my case, I think they probably will, because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after me as a political opponent. That's never happened in our country before, and it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
What do you do on day one if you win? What's your first thing?
What do? I close the border. And I do two things, because I can do a lot of things simultaneously. I close the border. We don't want people coming in. We want people to come in, Harris, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. They have to come in legally. I want people to come into our country, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. So when you say, what do? That, and I drill, baby, drill. I bring energy way down. I bring interest rates down. I bring inflation way down, so people can buy bacon again, so people can buy a ham sandwich again, so that people can go to a restaurant and afford it. Because right now, people can't buy food. Your grocery bills are up 40, 50, 60%, right? She's agreeing to me. Oh, she's agreeing. Thank you. I like you very much.
Mr. Griffin, I think we are.
But it's true. Your grocery bills are up. And then they're mandating that you buy an all-electric car. You know, Elon Musk endorsed me, and he's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. But I'm against everybody having an electric car, okay? I'm very much against that. You have to be able to, if you want a hybrid or if you want a gasoline-propelled car.
You should have the option.
But, you know, we have more liquid gold, gasoline, oil, under our feet than any other country. More than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia, more than any other country. I want to use it. I want to use what we have. I want to bring down prices, bring down costs, and I also have to stop the invasion. And remember, they're taking your jobs. These people coming in are taking your jobs.
Project 2025.
I think we have to leave it there by the Trump team.
All right.
So leave it. That is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
They've been telling us.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, very much. Great honor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, she was over to attack that nigga, bro. She was over there to attack that nigga. She had a whole agenda out there. That nigga did good. He did very good. He did good. I liked it. And that's what people need to listen to. He did not say. Let's recap that, okay? Trump did not say he don't want anybody to come into America. He said if you come here, he wants you to come legally. He wants you to go through the process and get vetted. Number one. Number two, he did not say he want to ban abortion permanently. That's not what he said. He says he wants to stop it at a certain. He wants to know. He didn't even say he wants to do anything. He said what he did is what he did. He moved it back to the states, and he wants people in those states to be able to vote on what they think the abortion laws should be in that state. And I don't see nothing wrong with that. And he also said that he believes that abortion should not be done at any step of any trimester. At a certain point, that baby in you has a heartbeat now. That's a real baby in you. Why should you just get rid of the baby because you feel like it? And then he said he does have exceptions to abortion. Number one, incest, which I don't agree with, right? Because if it's rape, it's rape, right? If something bad is gonna happen to the mother, sickness or disease, or if they're gonna die, right? Those are his exceptions, and I also agree with that too. So I don't understand. He touched on certain other points. Inflation is fucking bad right now. It's horrible. When Trump was a president, bro, I ain't gonna lie. Everybody gonna sit here and act like they don't know. Gas prices was low. We were able to buy food. It wasn't high as fuck. We had a little extra money to do what we needed to do. Like, bro, why people are sitting here pretending and acting like the economy wasn't booming when the nigga was a president? Come on, bro. The stock market was going crazy, right? I was able to day trade and make money off of the stock market. I was able to do some long-term investments also. I still got some money in there. I don't day trade anymore because the shit, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't see the value in it anymore right now unless you putting up big money and expecting big returns. Mostly day trade is like that, but when he was a president, I was able to put, small sums of money in there as a day trader and make some money back, right? And that was great. So I don't know. And that lady, I think her name is Harris. That's probably Kamala Harris' sister. I don't know. You can fact check me on that. But yeah, she was horrible. She came there with a plan. She came out the gate attacking this nigga, and he ain't do nothing wrong to her. The other people had some great questions and he answered it. So 2020, baby, let's go.